But for me and my biases, I had a good time playing it, and I still plan on keeping it. Go back, play it more. I haven't done all the side quests. I've just done the main story for the most part. I don't know how it has a chance to beat out Halo, though.
One of these does not look like the others. And I feel bad for Ori because it's gonna get even on the like absolute random, like Anthony just had an aneurysm and picks Ori and the Blind Forest. How does it get through? Hello, welcome to Showboys. We're here for a very special March Madness edition of Showboys. If you're a frequent listener of Showboys, we did this last year and it was a lot of fun. We did the 2023 streaming service original series tournament. It was quite the mouthful. So this year we decided to, tone down the number of words in our March Madness title, but we're coming in this year on the gaming side, and we are tackling the age-old question of the console wars. So with us today, we have a special guest, Anthony, one of the producers from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you so much for joining us, man. How you doing tonight?
Thanks for the invite, guys. I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about some video games instead of some sports for once. It's a good change of pace.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, you see up here with me, we of course have our producer Dad, and then the lovely Kumino, member of our infamous stream team and co-host of Pokeboys. Before we get going, got to shout out top tier patrons Tim B, Yusuf H, and the Hall of Fame member Joe C. Thank you guys for your support. It means the world. Head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Check it out if you're interested in supporting us. That'd be great. All right. We have a lot to get through, so we're just going to kind of cut through the pleasantries and explain what's going on. Actually, I lied. I have a few questions I want to ask you, Anthony, about the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Of course.
Then we will get into it. I, of course, avid sports fan, used to live up in Canton in Northeast Ohio. So I watch UCSS all the time on YouTube. It's a great show. And now that I've moved down to Florida, down south, it's a great way for me to be able to stay informed on all my favorite teams, the Browns and the Guardians and the Cavs and all that stuff. So it's cool to have someone on to talk to from the show. And first off, just want to say you guys do a great job. The show's awesome. I have to say, one, you are impossible to tag on Twitter. Like, are you aware of this?
It is such a joke in the office and on the show. You have no idea. So I created that Twitter account when we started the show because I looked at our producer, Mikey McNuggets, and I was like, look, I have a Twitter. It's just like for jokes and stuff with my friends. I'll make a new one. And for whatever reason, I made it like a month before Elon took over. As soon as he took over, I disappeared. And I don't pay for it. So like, I don't think I'm ever coming back.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, we follow each other, and we've interacted quite a bit on Twitter. But every time I type in ant_Klee, like nowhere to be found. Instead, some Anthony Clemens guy. He's always like the top guy. So Anthony Clemens, you suck.
If it makes you feel better, my own show can't tag me when I post. Like, I'm in something. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I'm part of the list. I'm part of everything. Can't tag me. That's
hilarious.
I can't tag them either. It's weird. I don't understand.
Yeah. What did you do to make Elon so angry?
I don't know.
Seriously.
He decided not to pay him. That's all it is.
That's true. It's true. A couple of us on the show did pay him and were check marks before the check marks disappeared and came back. So I just was there. So I think I got lost in the shuffle, unfortunately.
And your appearance on Showboys is like a long awaited, like, fabled event that we've been trying to make happen for quite some time. I think we were trying to get you on sometime last summer, and some crazy storms rolled in. Cleveland got hit pretty bad.
Yep.
And you
We
weren't able
almost
to make
died
it.
too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's pretty wild.
So it's nice to finally have you on.
Yeah,
And
it's great to be here.
And I got to say, thank you for making the ultimate Cleveland Pokemon segment happen. For those of you unawares, G. Bush like randomly mentioned Muck or something on an episode, like in passing,
been
just
anything.
said a Pokemon name, and I was like, okay, we got to get them to talk about Pokemon. So I started this probably super annoying Twitter campaign where I tweeted at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show every day for like a month and a half, something about Pokemon. And then finally this man made it happen. And it was the most glorious thing ever.
Yeah.
We had that segment planned for probably 3 weeks. I think I had that made up, and it was just a matter of whenever I could get in the show. Because I like, for those of you who don't watch Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we have a rotating cast on the panel. There's 3 of us who are producers, so we rotate in our producer chair. So it just all happens to when I get it. And I was like, Mike, I got this ready to go. Like, come on, McNuggets, give me the time. I'm ready to go. And I have the same handle here on Instagram. So if you're actually curious about watching it, it's on my Instagram over on that. So you can find
that's
that pretty
hilarious.
easy.
It's pretty awesome. That made my day. It was great. But I got to ask you some like hard hitting questions. So first off, like, how did you end up getting involved in UCSS as an already kind of self-proclaimed not super big sports fan?
So funny story. I love basketball. I actually had to give up watching basketball after 2016 because it pisses me off sometimes. Like when the Cavs don't do well, I get too into it. I was working here in Cleveland doing house tours. I was a videographer and editor. I have a degree in film and marketing. So I was enjoying it, but it just didn't feel what was right for me. And I was looking through just LinkedIn, and it was like, hey, new sports shows coming up, needs a producer. You get to do director stuff was originally the plan. Like you learn audio board, learn this new streaming system called vMix and all this. And I was like, yeah, it sounds fun. I don't know much about sports, but I'll apply and see what happens. And I don't know all the details from the hiring side, but basically I applied, and like 2 days later, McNuggets and our executive producer, Steve Becker, they get me on an interview, and it's gotten better. And I don't know if you guys can tell if you watch the show, but Mike has a really thick Jersey accent. It's not as bad now because he's been in Cleveland for a while and he was in Texas before this. But the first Zoom interview I did with him, I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And all my friends were like, how was the job interview? Does it seem cool? And I was like, show seems awesome. Seems like something I'm willing to do. I don't know if I'll be able to understand a thing my boss tells me, though. So I'm a little worried. And then literally like it was a very fast process. Like they were trying to get somebody to fill it quick. 2-3 days later, I got a call driving to Pittsburgh to see if you guys are interested in metalcore or anything. The Trinity of Terror tour with Ice Nine Kills and all of them, Black Veil Brides and stuff like that. I was in a car packed with people. And they're like, hey, you want the job? And I was like, can I call you back tomorrow? And I was really worried I wasn't going to get it because I had to call them back. And I called them back tomorrow, and they're like the next day. And I was in, and I gave my 2-week notice. And I mean, I walked in, they didn't even have a set built yet. So like my first 2 weeks was no set to basically live within 2 weeks. It was an extremely quick process, but it's been fun, man. It's been a great, I think it's like almost 2 years now in April.
Wow.
I love working there.
It's, you can tell you guys have a lot of fun together. Like you guys seem like you're pretty close knit bunch of guys, and it comes through in the content for sure. Makes it real fun to watch. With that, like, who's the funniest person that you work with, whether it's like a panel member or, you know, one of you guys back behind the camera?
You guys will never know it just from watching the show, but it is genuinely our director. Like, I think we mentioned it on the show that director Steve is the funniest guy on the show. Yeah. And he really is. I mean, sitting next to him, he'll just say stuff, not loud, just quiet enough that like the producer next to him, and maybe where I sit, which is 2 seats down from him, you can just hear him. And I mean, especially when Tyvis is on, he kills Tyvis. It's so funny. And he's really, really good about visual gags since he's the director.
Mhm.
We have a 3-camera setup. Tyvis didn't know which camera to look at when he sits in the middle. So he put him on all 3 cameras and just cut around while Tyvis was talking, just to confuse him. So Steve is maniacal and hysterical, and I
That's
love that
great.
man.
That's
Like I've
great.
learned so much from him too.
I feel like Tyvis is probably the most fun to like mess with.
Yeah, because he'll go right back at you. Tyvis
Yeah.
definitely has like the best. Do you guys curse on the show? I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Tyvis is the best at like taking shit and giving it right back. Like
Right.
it's him and Bull together are hysterical, but the funniest
Oh my
person is
gosh.
by far Steve, and you guys never get to hear him.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. And I'm gonna like put you under the pressure cooker. You have to answer this, or
Okay.
else this might be the shortest Showboys episode ever. Who is your favorite like person on the panel?
Favorite person on the panel, or just favorite person to work with in general?
Well, since you brought up, you could do both. I'll make it extra
So favorite person on
extra
the panel.
awkward for you.
No, I'll talk. It's fine. It's a toss up probably between G and Bull, actually.
Okay.
Like, everybody brings their own unique thing, and they're all great, like obviously. But Bull is so combative and fun to watch. Like no matter what we're talking about, it's just gonna be entertaining.
Yeah.
And G, his demeanor and the way he uses analogies are so fun to me. I just love that he's the other nerd of the show. Like if you guys
Mhm.
haven't know, like he loves anime. He just got
Yeah.
into Warhammer, so we've been talking about Warhammer
Oh,
stuff
okay,
off
okay.
behind the scenes, and I love it when he shouts me out and gives me my nerd credit. But my favorite overall person to work with genuinely is actually McNuggets.
Yeah.
And I feel like we rag on him a lot, but Mike and I, like, it was just the two of us when we started before
Mhm.
Earl joined the project. And like, we battled through to get this show on air. And it's just every day, like the show is successful. It's great. Like that I get to stand next to this dude who's just like a good leader. I mean, like boss aside, he called me before our first show and I was ready to like run through a wall for him the next day. Like he genuinely is like almost a coach. And
That's
it's great.
awesome.
I love working with Mike.
That's awesome.
That's super cool, dude. But yeah, thanks again for being on and answering my very specific UCSS questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully somehow translates with some of our audience, but you know, since we're more on the nerdy, geeky side of things, I don't know how much crossover there'll be, but hopefully any of you sports fans, go check out Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's super awesome. Great guys talking about Cleveland sports. But you're here for a very specific reason, and that is to represent the Xbox region of our 2024 March Madness Console Wars bracket. So the way things are going to work this year, it's a little bit different than last year. If you saw any of our March Madness stuff last year, we have, instead of the 4 hosts representing each region of the bracket, we decided to bring in some guests so we can lean on their expertise. So Anthony here will be representing the Xbox region. We're going to go through each round of this particular region of the bracket until we get to the final 4 representative for Xbox. That is another change from last year. Last year we had an episode for each round of the tournament, and we did each region in each episode. It was a lot. The episodes were very long and it was a lot to go through. So we broke it down by region this year, which will be fun. The same thing will be happening with the Final 4 in the championship as last year. The region representatives will debate each other on behalf of their game. And the judge panel, which is us up top, myself, Dad, and Kumino, will determine the winner of the debate, and the winner will advance to the championship, where they will again debate on behalf of their game against their opponent. With that being said, we have a set of criteria, much like we did last year. Of course, it's just a little bit different, as you know, we're tailoring towards video games and not TV shows. The criteria, we have 6 categories. Let me blow this up just a little bit so I can read it. We have Gameplay mechanics. So this is the overall quality, depth, and complexity of the gameplay mechanics, including the gameplay loop, controls, balance, replayability, and technical performance. We have the story and narrative, the overall quality of the game's story, character development, and narrative structure, and how the narrative unfolds using gameplay. Of course, we have the aesthetics, so visual presentation, graphics, art style, but we're also going to include music and sound design in this category. We have innovation. So this would be how the game pushed boundaries or introduced new ideas and mechanics within its genre or the gaming industry as a whole. Was this game able to make a noticeable shift in the field of gaming? Then we have the fun factor, pretty self-explanatory. How enjoyable and entertaining is the game, taking into account personal preference and the opinions of the audience. And then we have a bonus category, and that is community engagement. So this is the impact that was made with the audience, including the memorability, the size of the player base, the impact on player community, and post-launch support. These categories will come into play as we progress further in the rounds for each region, and of course the Final Four and championship. Much like last year, we put out polls. This time, since we're going through a region per episode, we only are using polls for the first round because you're not going to, know what the next round matchups are because they're all happening in the same episode. So what we're going to do to kind of help us progress through this is we're going to heavily lean on the poll results for round one. If the poll is goofy for some reason, or Anthony or any of us on the judges panel, don't really agree with the poll results, we'll argue why we're going to go against the results. And if there's like a majority consensus and agreement, we can go against the poll results, but largely we'll kind of lean on those. And then as we get through, to round two, all the way up till we decide our winner, we'll kind of get more in depth in the categories and talk through the matchups in detail. With that being said, do you have any questions, Anthony?
No, I got notes for every single game here, and I am ready to go.
Mine.
That's what I'm talking about. On top of
Prepared.
Dad and Kumino, are you guys ready to get going?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm as good
All
as I'm
right.
going to be.
I'm just glad I'm not down there.
Right?
This year.
I'm on the hot seat.
Last year was so brutal.
That part was very hard last year for sure.
Yeah.
So yes, I echo what Dad says. I'm very happy to be a member of the judge panel and not a representative. So with that being said, let's go. First match. We got a decent amount of responses, so thank you for all of you who voted in the polls. And this is the first time I've looked at the polls in, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 days. So the results are like new to me as I'm looking at them. So our first matchup, which by the way, as we generated our list, the preparation for the tournament is, I believe, our February Patreon episode, or it was our January Patreon episode. But in that, you can see how we gathered the lists for the games. Anthony was kind enough to help provide the list for Xbox, and just like our other representatives did for their console. Once we got our list of games and whittled it down, largely based on like an average rating from like Metacritic and other rating sites, we seeded them in order from the highest rated game to the lowest rated game, and then determined the matchups using the same seed number matchups that they use in the NCAA March Madness tournament. So that's how the matchups were decided. So with that being said, our first matchup is our number 1 seed for Xbox, and that is Halo Combat Evolved, and it is going up against the 16 seed Starfield.
Oh man.
So banger right off the bat. How do you feel just overall about this matchup, Anthony, before we even talk about anything?
I want to go ahead and say that I am in the minority of absolutely loving Starfield. Like, I still like the Bethesda formula. I can agree that it's outdated, but for me and my biases, I had a good time playing it, and I still plan on keeping go back, play it more. I haven't done all the side quests. I've just done the main story for the most part. I don't know how it has a chance to beat out Halo, though. Unfortunately for itself, it went up against, the favorite. It's the number 1 seed for a reason,
Right.
and
Yeah.
in no way, shape, or form should it beat out Halo. As much as I do love it, and I know it's controversial opinion that you love it, but hey.
Yeah. So Kumino, I saw you like pumping your fists. You're a fan of Starfield as well.
Yes, I am. I love Bethesda. True, they hurt us a lot, but Starfield actually is good. The story is great. They just left too much up to the community to finish. That's all it is.
Yeah, I have no shoe in the game here. Really for Starfield, but I do have a lot of fond memories of way back in the day playing on like the largest video game console probably ever made, playing some Halo. I also saw a really funny meme today of the color of Halo Combat Evolved, but it was like Master Chief shaking someone's hand and it was Combat Resolved. I don't know, it made me laugh. But the polls here, again, should not come to much of a surprise to anyone. Halo beats out Starfield with 75% of the votes. So are we okay with moving forward Halo? I mean, I think it's probably yes, but I have to ask.
If anybody says no, I might as well just drop the call right now. I'm just saying, like, kudos to Starfield for trying, but hey.
Yeah.
It didn't have a chance.
No,
Yeah,
no Undertalk story today.
Tough draw there for sure. So moving on to match 2, we have our 8 seed Pentiment going up against our 9 seed Grounded. So these kind of are a little, I mean, not lesser known games, but not as obvious to maybe an avid gamer as Halo and Starfield might be. So do you want to kind of, do you have it in your notes, like what type of games these are? You can kind of describe a little bit, or
yeah.
would you
So
like
for
one of
those
us
of
to do
you
that?
who don't know, Pentiment is more of a, I don't know what the terminology is called for it. I didn't write that down, but it's like a graphic visual novel that you can play, and it's got a fantastic art style. It's almost drawn like a medieval like book that you would walk through. It's so detailed in its art style that the text changes based on the class that the person you are talking to. So like nobility has a specific text box, and then peasants have more. It's a medieval mystery adventure game. It's not something I'd ever probably pick up and play, but if you're really into that niche kind of market, that's it. It rated, I think it got like an 8 on IGN, and it had about 1,200 players at its peak. So it's definitely like that audience loves this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Grounded, Minecraft survival type game. It's a little bit unique in the fact that it does add dungeon elements of like a role-playing RPG. I forget who made it. I had it in here, who made it, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to have to figure that out. But
It's okay.
They put more RPG elements into it, so it's got a little bit more beef than a normal Minecraft survival. Just kind of walk around, build your base, and then come back in a month when you get the itch again. So there's things to do. It all takes place in a backyard, and its cinematics are pretty cool. Like they have a volcano area that is a tipped over barbecue grill. For that, it's really cute. Once again, I'm not a huge survival player, but if I had to pick between these two, I'm figuring Grounded is probably going to beat this out. I at least saw Grounded pop up on Twitch a few times when it originally dropped.
Yeah, we're huge fans of survival crafting in these parts. And Grounded is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I was just gonna say that.
Valheim, essentially.
Yes.
So yeah, it already gets a +1 for me. But I have also heard great things about Pentiment. But that is a very specific target audience for sure. But it crushed that target audience. The polls, dead tie, 50-50. So this one is going to be in the hands of dear Anthony.
I think I'm going to have to go with Grounded as it. If I had to pick, like, you get one game to play for the rest of your life, and it's between these two, I'm probably gonna go with something like Grounded. Well over visual novels are cool, just not my thing. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna take my bias here, and I'm gonna advance Grounded for that one. If you guys are all right with that,
That's a
works
game
for
that
me.
Mike would play.
Grounded or Pentiment?
Pentiment.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Steam. So again, okay, so I just want to get out in front of this. This is going to mainly be an issue that people bring up for this specific region the most, but it applies across the board. Yes, I know a lot of these games are available on all platforms. The way we decided what was determined as an exclusive is if it released
Launched exclusive.
exclusively on a
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm looking at the Steam page for Pentiment right now, and it does have over 5,000 very positive reviews, which is pretty good for Steam. But Jeff, to your point, is the game relevant to me? It's similar to The Pale Beyond, according to Steam, and I loved that game. So I don't know. Maybe I wishlist this and try it out sometime. But I think I probably lean more towards Anthony on this one with Grounded. I saw more of a presence of Grounded on Twitch when it was out, and that genre of game has a wider target audience. More people end up getting into survival crafting than this like very niche style of game. So, are you guys cool with Grounded moving forward, or any arguments? Okay, sweet. So up next, we have our 5 seed Ori and the Blind Forest against the 12 seed Gears Tactics. This matchup is going to break my heart either way because I loved both of these games.
Yeah.
I have played Ori. I have not played Gears Tactics. Metroidvanias are not my specific cup of tea because I'm really bad at platforming. And it's funny, I actually did not realize what Gears Tactics exactly was until I did my research for this. So I'm actually gonna go probably play it like as soon as this is over. I might download it on Game Pass tonight to play it tomorrow. But I'm assuming, if I had to guess, Ori and the Blind Forest probably beat this one out. Gears Tactics is a spin-off of the series. It came out under the radar. I thought it was like a Halo Wars kind of thing until I did my research. So I don't think the marketing was necessarily there for Gears Tactics. Ori and the Blind Forest is one of the best indie games that I remember coming out for a very long time. I personally enjoy Hollow Knight more, but that's a me thing. So I'm betting Ori wins this one out.
Yeah, Kumino, do you have you played both of these games?
Listen, as a Gears of War fan, of course I played Tactic, and I enjoyed it for what it was, because like it reminded me of a couple of other games that had the same format. But Ori, it's too good. It's too good. it can't even compete.
Yeah,
It's like
did you play either?
I played both actually.
Okay.
Ori reminds me of like a 2D platforming Pokemon game. Like it could be a Pokemon, basically.
Yeah, maybe. All right, guys, you got to cut Dad some slack. He's new to the Pokemon, like
right. So he's in love with it right now.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
Everything is related to Pokemon.
Yeah. Which hey,
I mean, it's a Pokemon.
I get it. I get it, guys.
Welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Right way.
I knew I liked you.
I
for
dropped it
some
on my
reason,
microphone.
dude. Team
I gotta-
Bulbasaur all the way.
I got a Sylveon over here too, but yeah,
Nice.
I got plenty of Bulbasaurs all around.
My man.
That's amazing.
But anyways, back to your point. Ori, great.
So I did enjoy Gears. Game, like time in game. I mean, I've spent more time in Ori. It's just more my type of game.
Right.
Both fun, but Ori for me definitely wins it.
The polls will agree with all of you. Ori takes this one with 66% of the votes. I've played both, beat both, loved both. And I just got to say something about Gears Tactics because it's dead, it's gone, it's out already. Man, that game is a great turn-based tactics game. I'm not like a huge fan of the Gears franchise. Like I played the first one on 360 when I had a 360 way back in the day. But as a turn-based tactics game, I was pleasantly surprised at the depth that this game has, because I was not expecting that from a Gears turn-based tactics game. For whatever reason, I thought it would just be very basic and shallow because it's not, their main genre or whatever. But I was pleasantly surprised. It was a great game and super fun, and I recommend it to anyone who has the ability to play it, especially if you like turn-based tactics games. Ori, on the other hand, like visually beautiful, gameplay is super fun.
So good.
The story is really good too, and like very emotional and touching. But funnily enough, like that's not a game style that I particularly enjoy or play often, but I love that game. So I'm okay that it advanced, but I am a little sad that Gears Tactics is out. But I saw that coming. That was not a surprise.
I'm very excited to try Gears. I can't believe that one slid under my radar for so long. I've really gotten into the turn-based combat in my last 2 years. I've given up on the FPS genre because I'm 26 and I can't keep up with the teenagers anymore. So I play Warhammer Tacticus on my phone, and I'm just like, all right, this is perfect. I can think.
Nice.
This is just a perfect pace for me.
Nice.
Yeah. This guy's a baby on this panel here. Jeez.
I'm the youngest on UCSS too, but
Wow.
That's okay. That's okay. We need the youth these days to
Some young blood.
spark some energy and stuff.
We need you young whippersnappers around here.
happy to fill that role, honestly.
So Ori moves on, which is awesome. That takes us to match 4, and we have our number 4 seed, Hi-Fi Rush, a recent port to other systems. By the way, news just came out. I believe it's coming to Switch and PlayStation, which is pretty cool because I've heard great things about this game. So happy those people get to play this. And it is going up against our 13 seed, the Microsoft Flight Simulator, which may raise some eyebrows, but honestly, for the game, it's one of the best for this, and people speak very highly of it. So we had to include it. We had to. Any thoughts on this before we get into the poll results?
I will be surprised if Microsoft Flight Simulator wins the poll. I know that it has a really dedicated audience. I don't think it has the largest audience. Hi-Fi Rush, I know, took over when it came out. It was a instant hit and came out of nowhere. I think it's going to win this one, but I could be surprised because those flight people are dedicated.
Yes.
Yes. I've seen some of the setups on Twitter. I know who you are. It's impressive, but I don't want to see your credit card statements.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
I haven't seen any of the flight sim setups, but I've seen a lot of the trucking sim and the other car sim stuff, and some of those people really get into it, which is really cool. But to your point, probably very expensive.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad. I wanted to be a pilot when I was really young, and they're like, by the way, you are basically blind and will need glasses. So that's out immediately. Wow. And I was like, if I had a flight stick and a computer that could run that at max settings, I'd probably play it all the time.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, be prepared to be surprised because this is a 50-50 split. And no, we did not only have 2 votes in the poll, guys. There's a pretty decent amount. And it is a 50-50 split, which I did not see coming at all.
Nope, not at all.
So what do we do?
So I'm going to go back to if I could only play 2 games, because that's probably going to be how I 50-50 split these.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hi-Fi Rush has to take it. And I think it's because while they're both very innovative games in their specific field, I think it's so cool that you have so many stylistic fighting games that kind of are like Hi-Fi Rush, like Nier Automata, I think is compared to it a lot, and things like that. But the rhythm aspect of it and keeping everything in pace with music, watching reviews on it, I didn't get a full chance to dive into it on Game Pass. I want to play it more, but I'm a music guy. I love music. It's my hobby, and it's the one thing I always keep as a hobby. But it grabbed me, and I can't wait to play more of it. I think this has to advance just for the sole fact of I've never played a game outside of obviously Rock Band and stuff that takes music and puts it in that way.
That's
awesome. Wasn't there Didn't Ugly Kid Joe Cross stream a shooter that was like rhythmic bass? I think was it like Hellslinger or something like that. I have to look up the
don't
title,
remember.
but there's a an FPS that is like a rhythmic shooter, and it's all like metal music. And he
Oh.
was playing it, and like I'll have to ask him, and I'll let him know what it was, or I'll let you guys know what it was when I
Is
when I
it-
find out. But
Metal Hellsinger? Is that what you said?
yes, I believe that's the game. I believe
Okay.
that's it. Did it come out last year or the year before? I feel like it's a somewhat recent game, but I'll
22.
figure. Okay, that might be the one. I'll ask him and let you guys know. But
It looks
yeah,
pretty sweet.
I was
rhythm
gonna say
games
it's
are
got
pretty
10 out
cool.
of 10 on Steam according to Google right here.
Yeah, rhythm games are sweet, and I'm okay with Hi-Fi Rush moving forward. Sorry to all of our pilots out there, but I also think Jared, our Nintendo representative, he'll be happy that Hi-Fi Rush is moving forward because he's the host of Play Along Podcast, and they did an entire season covering this game,
Nice.
and they loved it. So
It looks amazing.
Yeah, the art style alone was
It's
it
fun.
caught me immediately. I was like, this
Yeah.
is I love bright and colorful, like not quite a Fortnite pop color,
Mhm.
but more the cell shaded of Borderlands. Like I love that kind of art style.
yes.
Yep.
Man, okay, this is totally off topic, and I promise this will be the only time I do this because we got a lot to get through. But have you played games like Octopath Traveler or Live Alive or whatever that have like that 2D HD
No,
art style?
Octopath has been on my like 2 playlist on my Switch for God knows how long. I'm really bad about playing games on my Switch because I only use it when I'm out of the house. I don't like hook it up to my TV most of the time.
Right.
But I know like what you're kind of talking about, and they almost used it in the Pokemon remakes with like Brilliant Diamond.
Oh
like,
my
is
gosh,
that am I right with that? Like comparatively,
if they ever made a Pokemon game with the 2D HD
okay, so I am
art
wrong
style,
about it.
I literally would fall over dead out of just sheer excitement. Like it is, in my opinion, like the most beautiful art style a game could have. And if they did that with my beloved, I would lose it.
Look, Generation 3 could use another remake for Switch. I'm just saying, Nintendo. We're giving you ideas here.
That's right.
I'll play a Gen 3 remake every year if I have to. I don't care.
That's awesome.
awesome.
We'll have to talk about Pokemon sometime because man, I could
Yes.
do that forever.
I just got the Mudkip from Build-A-Bear.
Nice.
It was a good pickup.
That's awesome. All right. Well, hey, we only have 4 more matchups here in round 1, so actually we're making pretty good progress. Match 5, we have our number 6 seed Titanfall versus our 11 seed Fable 2. So, what say you here, sir?
So, Fable 2 is a game that I remember very fondly of everybody playing on Xbox. And when I tried it, I did not like it when I was younger. So I went back and I watched a couple videos and I was like, what was I missing? You know? And I think that action RPG game just wasn't my thing until I played Fallout 3 when I was about 13 years old. So I think I missed out on the Fable 2 hype. So I have to go with Titanfall here.
Okay.
And I also think that Fable 2 does everything that Oblivion on this list does worse. I think Oblivion is the better fantasy RPG as a whole.
Makes sense.
So I can't necessarily vote for it, especially over one of the best first-person shooters to ever exist in Titanfall.
Revolutionary.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for Titanfall 3.
I feel like Titanfall doesn't get like the credit it deserves too. I feel like it's pretty overlooked.
I think with the original one coming out when it did with no story, I remember like even thinking back, I was like, I'm going to pay, I think it was a full 60 price game. Like I don't think it was any cheaper than a normal title at the time. And I was like, I really want it because it looks fun. I don't know if it'll be worth the money. And man, I played that more than I probably played Call of Duty that year. I don't remember exactly what year it came out, but if it was, I think it was after Halo Reach. So I probably played it more than Reach that year too. And I have the most fond memories of calling in Titans with my friends, running around. I wish I played 2 more. I was in college as 2 kind of like hit its stride, and I just didn't have the time to play it. So 2 was on my backlog catalog to clean up. But Titanfall 1, I mean, man, I love that game. I love that game so much. It's the only reason I even gave Apex Legends a shot.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Kuno, have you played either of these?
Able to.
Yeah.
And
Can you dispute any of the slander that Anthony threw on Fable 2, or
well,
pretty
like
much
you
hit the
said,
nail on the head there?
he didn't get to be around for the Fable 2 hype. Honestly, Fable 2 actually got a bad rep in the community because Fable 1 was just, it was perfect. In all honesty, so
hard to follow up, probably. I would imagine.
But Fable 2, man, it was fantastic. It had a great story, and the way that like your decisions kind of told what happened in the story and made the ending, what impacted the ending, was fantastic, man. I'm really hoping Fable 2 pulled out because I actually never played Titanfall, so I can't enjoy the hype that everybody else would have for it. So give me Fable 2, man. I want to go back to being a grutty, grimy, gutter kid and get sucked into the castle again.
Nice. Dad, have you played either of these?
I've played Fable 2. But it's been a really long time ago, and I remember liking it. I love the whole choices matter style, game. But Titanfall is like more my style. I don't know. That's a hard decision for me. I'm glad I'm not you, Anthony.
That's fair. I mean, I'll take the heat for this.
I'm gonna go your route though. Like if I had to play one of these for the rest of my life, it would be Titanfall. Where I'm at now, like my type of gaming now that I play. So
okay, well, we're going to need the input because it's a 50-50 tie.
I knew it as soon as you said it. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. But no, I believe Anthony is the one representing the region, so we're gonna lean on his call here, and I think it sounds like Titanfall.
Yeah, I'll lock in my answer with Titanfall here. To all the Fable people, I'm sorry, I'm young. I really do apologize. But even going back and trying to relive it through videos and review stuff and gameplay footage, I was like, I think Oblivion's the better fantasy RPG on this list, so it would fall behind that anyways if it made it further. So
Right.
I'm going with Titanfall here.
That's good. That's good. Because that's a perfect segue into match 6.
That's very well done. Very well
we
done.
have, I mean, man, it's almost
I
like
do this for a living.
You're a producer for your career. Right?
Man, I could learn a lot from you, sir.
Right. Maybe we can like bump that title from aggressively mediocre to like satisfactory.
That is my title, is aggressively mediocre producer.
They named me Cantaspelli because I mess up my graphics, man. We all got something that we rock with. It is what it is.
Oh man, that's dirty. That's dirty.
Whoever came up with that name in the UCSS chat, by the way, if you made it over here and you're watching it, fantastic name. I love it's
Dude,
so funny.
I cry every time they say it on the show. Like, it's hilarious.
And now Austin Hedges knows that that's my nickname too. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
You officially made it. That's amazing.
My twin knows.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, anyway, so match 6 here, we have Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Again, just save your comments. We know this released on Xbox before it went to PC. So just stop. Just stop while you're ahead.
This list was harder to put together than any of us, I think, thought it was going to be.
Yes, it was. Oblivion, the number 3 seed, takes on the number 14 seed, Sunset Overdrive, and I think we can all imagine how this ended up.
I will give Sunset Overdrive some credit because Insomniac does do a great job of making the open world just feel great to go through. I love both the Spider-Man games. I played the original Spider-Man on PS4. Loved it. Platinum trophied it. But I think Spider-Man is just their better game. Hi-Fi Rush is cool. It's got that fun poppy art style that I like, but if anybody picked it over Oblivion, I'll be amazed.
I didn't even realize that Insomniac did Sunset Overdrive. They did the Infamous games, right?
I think so,
Yeah.
off the top of my head, which are also,
I
once
love
again,
those games.
super
Those
fun
are
to go
awesome.
through the
Yeah.
city and jump around.
Yeah, for sure. But yes, no surprises here. This, well, maybe a surprise in the fact that Oblivion got 100% of the vote, and poor Sunset Overdrive just has to walk home with its tail between its legs.
Yeah.
That's a tough draw. That's
I
like
mean,
Starfield. Solid game, tough draw.
Yeah, at least you made the bracket.
That's true.
Yeah.
In all honesty, is okay. Sunset Overdrive wasn't going to go to the finals, but
Mhm.
I mean, it definitely could have went up against somebody else and actually advanced.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. Do you think it? Not you don't have to throw out any specific titles, but do you guys think it could have potentially beaten a couple of the other entries in the bracket for Xbox?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Sunset Overdrive, when it came out, it was so refreshing at the time. Like everybody I know was on Sunset Overdrive. So much so to the point where everybody started thinking that it was multiplayer, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I remember playing, I think it was Halo on my Xbox One, because that's when Sunset Overdrive dropped, right? It was a launch title for the One, if I remember right. And I was like, what is this game? I didn't even remember it from the E3 presser, but everybody loved it.
Rest in peace, E3.
Yeah, for real.
Too soon. Or not soon enough. I don't know. These companies all do their own things now, so what's the point?
Yeah. Got that right.
So we're down 2 matchups left in round 1. And the next one, we have Call of Duty 2, one of the launch titles for the 360 itself. Fond memories waiting outside of Best Buy for 13 hours to secure an Xbox 360 with Call of Duty 2, and then many hours playing the Call of Duty 2 multiplayer. Holy cow, so much fun. But it takes on the number 10 seed Forza Motorsports. An equally revolutionary racing game. I mean, every time I see anything for a Forza game, I immediately wish, man, I really wish I loved playing racing games, because this one looks literally visually looks amazing, but looks like the racing game to play. But yeah, what do you think about this matchup here, Anthony?
So this might as well be a battle of the Titans when it comes to a longevity series.
Oh yeah.
So preface again too, these were both kind of before I first Call of Duty I ever played was Call of Duty 4. Forza, I was a Need for Speed kid growing up, so even the ones that would have come around when I was playing racing games, I was still on the Need for Speed side. But I was lucky enough to get Forza 5 with the Hot Wheels pack when I bought my Series X.
Nice.
And I got to play around. I only played around with it for about a day or two. Racing games aren't my thing, but to put these two up against each other, I might just kind of go with whatever the poll says for these, because I think it's Call of Duty. If I had to pick, it'd be Call of Duty. I played COD and Halo and first-person shooters my entire life, and I think this one just set the bar so everything else went on. Based on my research, this is where it all started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably Call of Duty, just based on franchise size, even too. Depending on how you feel about it right now, it is what it is. It's still huge. So I'm curious to see what the poll says.
Well, you make a great point though about them both being the pillar and cornerstone of two extremely long-lasting franchises that are still pumping out title after title. But yeah, Call of Duty, that just did something real special with 2, and the gaming world has not looked back. And the polls kind of reflect that. 83% picked Call of Duty 2. So sorry, Forza. You're a beautiful game, but just not good enough to advance to round 2. That is if you're okay with that, yes.
Yeah, no, I'd have to go with Call of Duty. If it got to the point where it wins it all, I can at least argue a Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Forza, unfortunately, with racing games, I feel like it's just such a niche audience,
Mhm.
and like they're really passionate about it and they really love it, and I love that for them. Not my thing, not my jam.
Oh, speaking of like battle of niche audiences, Microsoft Flight Sim versus Forza. Who do you think wins?
Ooh, I'd probably put Forza over that.
Yeah,
Like
Forza's gonna
on
win.
the tiers of niche, it's like racing, and then like flight's probably that'd be down here somewhere, and then
Yeah.
in here is like Baldur's Gate where I am. But even though it went mainstream with Baldur's Gate 3 that I love,
Yeah.
but like that turn-based like D&D style game
Mhm.
Yes.
is like it finally broke through. But I'd say it's probably right around there.
Well, our final matchup of round 1 has the potential to set up like just an explosive match in round 2. And our final match, we have our number 2 seed, Gears of War 1, going up against the 15 seed Sea of Thieves, another one of those recent titles that is getting ported over to PlayStation and the Switch. But I think we're going to know how this one's going to go. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Because I've been waiting on this one. So when I seen the brackets come out
Mhm.
and I seen Gears of War 1, like I said, I love Gears of War. It's the only shooter that I love to play. But how did 1 get chose over 2 or 3?
So
that was
what
my
we
point with
did,
Halo CE. If you picked
Yeah.
Halo 2, it was going to run the gauntlet easy.
excuse me, when we had, so what happened in determining the 16 games for each region, we had our guests give us a massive list of games that they thought were worthy of being in the tournament. And just due to the nature of how gaming works, there are a lot of series that have multiple entries. So for things like Gears of War, Halo, like Legend of Zelda or Pokemon in the Nintendo bracket, Uncharted in the Sony bracket. What we did for those is we just went and looked at which entry in the series was the highest rated, like average rating across like 3 different sites that we used to determine the seating. So Gears 1 happened to edge out all the other entries. It was the highest rated, like
Wow.
cumulative rating across multiple sites. Same thing with, I think, Halo. But I think we picked Combat Evolved because it was the pioneer of what, one of the biggest gaming genres in the world now. But yeah, that's kind of what happened, and you'll see that in the other regions when we come across games that have multiple entries. That's how we determine that. So, good question.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean,
What gear? Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
I was just gonna say I could probably do a whole episode just arguing which Halo deserved to be on the list. That is my series right there. If you couldn't, tell
I
from
mean,
the Halo-
some of these franchises you could do a whole region, just like a Halo region, a Legend of Zelda region, a Pokemon
Duty.
region, a Call of Duty region. But yeah, what Gears entry do you think, if you got to choose, Kumino, would replace Gears 1?
The one that I know just from the community loving the most, it would have been 2. So I'm not sure.
I'm all like, just kidding.
No. Hold up. But see, that's the thing. It's an argument within the community about which one is the better, but it's like just that little margin of more people like 2 more. But like all 3 of them are fantastic.
So
It's
good.
just
Story's
just-
amazing. Yeah.
Man,
It's-
oh my god.
It's crazy that Halo and Gears at like the same time had 3 just absolute back-to-backs.
Game.
Yeah, it was.
So good.
I wish I could go back to it.
Still waiting for Dave Bautista to head up live action Gears. That'd be amazing.
We have Henry Cavill working on Warhammer. If Dave Bautista doesn't do a Gears of War, I give up. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming Gears is going to win this one. So shout out to Sea of Thieves. You're
Yeah.
really cool. You are a great like game to play with friends. And I hope that it's not a nostalgia bias because it is one of the pillars of the gaming world of Gears 1.
Mhm.
But I mean, Sea of Thieves has done a lot. And if without its rocky launch, I think it'd probably be considered one of the best titles to ever be on Xbox and now coming over to everything so that PlayStation players can enjoy it too. I'm actually really excited. Like I love like the pirate stuff. So it's fun. Get a group of guys and go take on some ships, man. But you can't beat Gears. Not Gears 1, at least.
Yeah.
No, neither
The
one.
poll would agree.
The poll
100% for Gears.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up at least.
Yeah. Luck of
Right.
the draw. You got a tough pool there, but there we go. We made it through round 1. So again, thank you guys for everyone who voted in the polls. Much appreciated. Hope you filled out a bracket too, so you can have a chance at winning our OLED Switch giveaway. Yeah, so we have the matchups for round 2 set, and we have Halo Combat Evolved going up against Grounded, Ori and the Blind Forest against Hi-Fi Rush, Titanfall against Oblivion, and Call of Duty 2 versus Gears of 1, which that is going to be a bloodbath.
Yes,
but
it
we'll
is.
we'll go back up to the top. We'll just let that Call of Duty Gears linger and just fester.
This thing is fast.
We'll save that for last. But let's head back up to the top. Number 1 seed Halo Combat Evolved against number 9 seed Grounded. I have a feeling, Grounded's time may be coming to an end, but what are your thoughts on this matchup and behind each game here?
I actually think if you take away everything, Grounded can probably give Combat Evolved a pretty good run for its money. It takes the survival game play and really puts a very unique spin on it. I love the idea of just being contained to a backyard. The art style is really cool. I love that they added like story elements to it because most of the survival games, they feel empty after a few hours, and that's like what makes this one seem to stand apart. I can't justify picking it over Halo Combat Evolved, but I do think I think if it would have gone against something else, like even what else won? Even Elder Scrolls, I might have even given it a chance against that. Like that survival genre is so beloved, and to do something so unique in such a saturated market to really set yourself apart, I think does deserve credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And shout out to Grounded. When I am picking some of these, like that doesn't mean another game is bad. Like these are all the best of the best. But I gotta go with Combat Evolved on this one.
Yeah, I feel like just looking at our like categories for the criteria, like it's been a long time since I played Halo, but the mechanics, I would say, probably one of the best, tightest FPS controls.
I replay it once a year usually because I have the Master Chief Collection, and I can say to this day everything holds up so well that I think playing it with the original graphics over the anniversary graphics is still the better way to do it.
Yeah,
like that's how well it all holds.
I feel like the innovation category, like it literally can't score any higher. So like it's going to be very hard to dethrone Combat Evolved, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because it basically created the the multiplayer FPS genre, like as we know it. It's going to be really hard to compete against that.
I didn't doing my research. Like I played Combat Evolved on computer originally as a kid, probably somewhere around 05, 06, I think was when I found it. So it had already been out forever. The server browser was still alive and kicking. Like people still had, snipers only matches in Blood Gulch, and the story was there and everything. And this is going to sound really bad because basically anytime Combat Evolved comes up, they're going to be like, all right, Anthony's going to pick this. And I'm sorry. I think it's probably the perfect game on this list.
Yeah.
Like its story is memorable. It's innovative as all hell and basically set up an entire genre for the next 20 years and to this day. And it's got one of the best art styles for an old style graphic system too. Like I said, the retro graphics are still better than the anniversary graphics. The sound mixing is better in the retro than even the anniversary. So it stands the test of time, and it's going to be really hard to beat it. and I'm gonna cry if it goes up against like Gears 1 in the finals or something like that. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, hey,
Like,
one, don't apologize for sticking with the hard facts here, and we have hard facts. Like Halo it's one of the best games of all time. I mean, it's hard to argue that.
Yeah, and I mean, you like want to talk about too. I think in one of our criteria here, the bonus of community and post-launch support. Post-launch support wasn't really a thing back then, but if you look at the books that were written and you look at what we've gotten at this point, even though I don't personally like the Halo show, like it's turned into like this mega
Yeah.
series. So
You want
it's
a
hard to
cool
argue.
Halo live action? Go. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube or whatever, but Blu-rays exist of it because I have it for some reason. The Halo Forward Unto Dawn,
Oh,
like whatever. I don't know if that is like technically a short film or whatever that project was. That was amazing.
yes.
Like if you have not seen that, please go watch that.
I
Yeah,
think
if you're a
that's what
Halo
everybody
fan-
was looking for with the Halo series that we have now, but we did not get that.
Yeah, forward into I had a nerd fact real quick to get us not super far off topic. I have every single piece of Halo media except the books. I don't have all those on Blu-ray right now, other than the
Nice.
first season of the Paramount show, which I'm still waiting to get. But Forward Unto Dawn, yeah, that's like peak live action Halo right now.
So good. Yeah, I have no problem with Halo advancing. I don't think anyone on the panel does either. If you do, say your part now. Otherwise, the copy paste has already happened on my amazing Google Sheet version of the bracket. All right, your silence speaks volumes. So we will move on to the next matchup, and that is the number 5 seed Ori and the Blind Forest going up against number 4 Hi-Fi Rush. And this should be an interesting matchup because I feel like these are pretty evenly aligned here.
Yeah, so I'm even looking at our original list, and they both actually scored an average rating of 89.5. Like they're dead on even.
Let's see what,
wait, no, I apologize. I'm looking at Oblivion and Hi-Fi Rush. So Hi-Fi Rush is a little bit above Ori at 89. I think people might kill me for this, but I think Hi-Fi Rush wins this for me personally. Stylized fighters like that with a little bit of puzzle between it, on top of the rhythm that I mentioned earlier. It's just too much of a cool concept that was executed perfectly. And Ori is too, but there's so many good Metroidvania games and so many people do those well that it's hard to stand out. And I think Ori does a great job of it by itself. But if I'm picking a game that really stands out to me, it's got to be Hi-Fi Rush coming into that space and really setting itself apart with the music and the art style.
What does the panel think here?
I gotta side
a lot
with
of chin
Ori.
scratching here.
Yeah, I gotta side with Ori. The story was too good, along with its art style. That's the thing about Ori that captivated me. I remember when I first played Ori, I didn't play it because it came out. I was excited for it. I played it because I was bored one day, and I instantly fell in love with the story, and I had to finish it, and it's just magical to me. Like I can go back to Ori right now and just be there and just tune everything out. So I'm choosing Ori.
Dad, any thoughts on the matchup here?
I've only played Ori. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush looks fun, and I mean, you make a very compelling argument, Anthony, about this. Man, that's difficult. But I think I would probably go with Ori as well, just because I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Now, if I'm gonna lose a vote to any matchup, I think this one's good because putting Ori off the list hurt me. But as a personal preference that I'm kind of taking into check here, like I think I'd probably play Hi-Fi more, which is why I went with that. So if the judges panel thinks Ori is the better game, I'll take that.
This one is very, very tough because even
is.
like our average rating, how we determine the seeds, like it's a half a point difference between the two. So going off that, it's even hard. Like, but technically, Hi-Fi Rush is above Ori. Man, everyone that's spoken so far has made like very valid points. Like Ori is an amazing game, visually looks great, and I'm a simpleton, so like one of the reasons that I love the graphics that we've used so far for March Madness in our background tonight is like I just love color and like neon and bright, and Ori executes an amazing color palette so well. Like the backgrounds are very dark and gloomy, but everything else on the screen is very vibrant and bright, and it just pops and it draws you in. And much like Kumino, like I had no intention of ever playing Ori. I got it for like $5 on Steam, which is basically how I amassed my Steam library. Oh, this is on sale. I'll just buy it. And then one day I played it, and
wasn't I the one that told you about it that you should play it?
Probably, yeah, that would make sense. Threw it on the Steam Deck and was instantly like captivated by the story and the sound design, and like I don't like this style of game. I never play this style of game, but like I started playing Ori and I was like, I have to finish this. This is a great game. But Anthony makes a great point. Like it's a pretty saturated genre of games, and
it is
within that genre of game, it's like not head and shoulders above others, right? Because like even earlier tonight, Anthony said he prefers Hollow Knight. So like just right there, that's just without even thinking about other Metroidvania style games, like we already have one that somebody prefers over Ori. But on the other side of the coin, like I'm not helping any matters. I'm just throwing.
No, it's tough. It's really tough.
Hi-Fi Rush is such another one of those like super niche like genres of game, rhythmic. Like that's not a huge game style that a lot of people play. I haven't played this one either, but the people that I know that have played this game like fawn over it and talk about how amazing it is. And not only is the gameplay fun, but the story is really interesting too. So I don't know. I think I do not know. And it's like, even though we tried to have 3 judges to break ties, I think I almost lean more towards Hi-Fi Rush because in its category of gaming, like it's more highly spoken of than Ori is within the Metroidvania like genre. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think, not to go back on last year, a super ton, but I think that was my reasoning for a lot of my choices last year for what shows move forward. It's like, what do they do within their niche of TV, or in this case, what does it do in its niche of game genre? And I think Hi-Fi Rush does more for its than Ori does for Metroidvania. So I would lean probably more towards Hi-Fi, even though it kind of hurts me a little bit on the inside because I loved Ori. But Anthony, it's ultimately your call.
Oof. So you guys made really good points for Ori. And I think you're right. I like the story of Ori. It's one of those ones where I didn't finish it myself, so I went and watched videos of it because I'm really bad at Metroidvania games. Like Hollow Knight, I love it and I play it all the time. I am just slowly chipping away at it. But you guys, the story is so just fantastic, and I do really love it. And I don't know that much about Hi-Fi Rush yet. I just started playing it, so I'm kind of just going based on how I get like a feel from the game. I'm going to actually side with the panel here, and I'm going to go and switch my vote to Ori because I think the longevity of it, you guys are right. Like it's hard to compete with that story, and I don't have that pillar in Hi-Fi Rush other than it's just really good in its genre. So I'll switch my vote. You guys actually convinced me. And now I got to go back and probably replay Ori at some point. I'm gonna put it on my Steam Deck later that I just bought. So,
Dude, it is an amazing Steam Deck game. That's how
It's
I
Yeah,
so much
like-
fun to play. Yeah.
I really loved it. I think I put like 16 hours into it. I'm just really bad at platformers. Like it's why I never played Mario that much. But
Y'all are making me feel bad that I left my backbone controller out in the car because otherwise I have it up here going like this.
Oh yeah. This episode's brought to you by Backbone.
Right.
Okay, so we have Ori moving on. See, Anthony, it's supposed to work the other way, where you convince us what
Right.
game moves forward.
I was ready to defend Hi-Fi, and just the way you guys passionately explained like why you're picking it. I was
Well,
like, all right,
see,
you know, like,
You
I'm making
actually did a
factual
great
argument.
job.
but you
Yeah,
guys
you
are
did a great
convincing
job
me
with
with your
Hi-Fi.
emotions because I'm an emotional person. Like, so I was like,
Yeah, that's-
I'll give you the facts, but I'll flip. Don't try me. I'm not a, like.
Yeah, that's the
Good
only
to
thing
know,
that
good
did
to
it. It's the fact that on an emotional standpoint, yeah, Ori has it for me.
Ori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Hi-Fi, you actually sold me on it. Like, I'm gonna go
I want
play it so I
yeah.
can
Oh, I can't
find
wait to
out
play it
what
more.
the fuss is about. You know.
Yeah.
I just want to smack somebody with a guitar. 2 heavy metal songs, and I think it just fills that need. You know, like
Yeah,
it's
I've
just
always
what I
actually
need.
wanted to do that as well.
Exactly.
And you can't see behind me. I do have my guitar back there, just ready. I'm waiting.
I've got mine right off the camera here. Like,
nice,
ready to
nice.
go.
And last point on Ori, I will say I've recently started Will of the Wisps, which is the sequel to Blind Forest. And while it made some like quality of life gameplay improvements, it hasn't hooked me like Blind Forest has. Like
I heard
there's
that
just
about-
something special about that game that like it was really good. Even though the upgrades that they made in like the mechanics and gameplay loop of Will of the Wisps are really good. I'm just having a hard time getting into it. But I will finish it because I have like this weird OCD thing where once I start something, it must be finished.
I feel that like I bought Hogwarts Legacy on sale, and I was glad I bought it on sale because I am 8 hours into it, and I'm like, do I really want to play this for another like 12 hours? And like, I wasn't a huge Potter kid, so I'm thinking that might be why. But I also think it's just a kind of mediocre RPG. So that's a whole nother episode.
Oh, you hate to see that.
Ah,
Moving on. I mean, hey guys, we have 2 more matchups in this round, and we're making great progress, honestly. Because, yeah, not much left going as I'm looking at the bracket here. We have our number 6 seed Titanfall going against a Titan in the RPG genre, Oblivion. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Did you like that? That was,
Yeah.
that was
Well done.
great wordplay there. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the number 3 seed. I mean, I think some people might think this is a pretty obvious choice, but like considering what Titanfall did for, again, that genre of game, like it might not be as obvious as you think. But what are your thoughts on this, Anthony?
So I'm actually going to throw my notes out the table here because this is a tough one. I'm going to pick Elder Scrolls. I think as a fantasy RPG, obviously Oblivion is just, it's fantastic. I play Skyrim to this day, so like I still love that formula as well. And when you think about all the great that Titanfall did, I'm going to give it a huge knock because it showed EA that they're like, hey, we can make games without single player, and single player can die. And as a single player game enthusiast, and like I love my multiplayer, but like Titanfall was probably where I can pinpoint they gave us a full product or a full priced game without a full product in it, without the story. And I felt bad about it at the time. It's a fantastic game. It's a staple in the first person shooter. And they did a really good job in Titanfall 2, kind of fixing the mistakes of Titanfall 1. But Titanfall 1, as it stands against Oblivion, I can't pick it over because I think it probably did a little bit more harm to the overall gaming industry and like gaming world than it did good just for the FPS genre, if that makes any sense. Whereas Oblivion, fantastic fantasy RPG, like it proves on every mechanic from the previous Elder Scrolls titles, much like Skyrim did to it. So I gotta pick Oblivion on that one.
I think we're probably all on board with that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
And yeah, EA, yucky. I mean, gross. We don't have to go into much more detail.
Yeah, like
No.
why'd you cancel my first-person Star Wars game, EA? What's going on over there? So
They're a crusher of dreams. That's
yeah,
what they
honestly.
Yes, they are.
do. But hey, still have hope for what was it? Eclipse? Is that the name of
Eclipse.
the game that they
Eclipse.
announced? And they're like, yeah, this probably won't be out for like 10 years. They showed
Oh.
like a teaser trailer. I forget exactly what it's not to go off on a tangent here, but I think it's made by the people who did Detroit Become Human and like Heavy Rain, I believe. So it's like that style of game, but in the Star Wars universe. And they teased it at some expo show, and I got way too excited. And then they're like, yeah, we literally have no release date, and it's probably like 10 years away. We're like, why did you show anything about this?
I mean, if I
You're just
remember
setting
right,
yourself up for failure.
I remember the timeline right off the top of my head. EA killed BioWare, and I'll never forgive them for that. So
Yeah, that's rough. Almost as rough as the final matchup here.
Oh, no, here we go.
We had to get to it. Like, there's just no choice. Call of Duty 2, the number 7 seed, which is kind of shocking, going up against number 2 seed Gears of War 1. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, I think I got a pretty good argument for why Gears of War 1 should beat Call of Duty 2 here.
Okay.
And I'm going to use the same argument I made for Fable 2 and compare it to Oblivion. There's a first-person shooter on this list that did more for the FPS genre than Call of Duty 2 probably did. Call of Duty as a whole may be a bigger franchise, but Halo Combat Evolved did more for the FPS genre. And in turn, Gears of War 1 sets the bar for third-person games. I mean,
Yes.
you can look at the mechanics of that game, and I mean, they're in Mass Effect. They're in Spec Ops The Line. They are
Was Gears the first game to like really introduce the cover shooting mechanic?
It's the first one I remember playing with cover.
yeah.
I don't know if Mass Effect 1 came out before it, and they had a cover system, but it wasn't a press A cover system. You ran up to it, and it put you in cover. So it was a little bit different. It worked better in Gears of War than Mass Effect 1. So, I mean, you just based on what it did for its genre, Gears of War 1 has to wipe the floor with Call of Duty 2 because there's no other third-person game that stands up to it.
No. You gotta think about it. Without Gears of War 1, all of the
we don't have Gears Tactics. I mean, come on.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, we threw that out already, but it's fine. Forget about that.
Well, actually,
We're
I
here
was
now.
gonna say, I was actually gonna say you don't have any of the other third person shooter games that you have now. You know what I'm saying?
I think if it wasn't for Gears of War 1, you wouldn't have seen the technical leap between Mass Effect 1 and 2. Because Mass Effect 2 bodies Mass Effect 1 in gameplay.
Yeah.
Like, and most everything else too. Like Mass Effect 2 is the pinnacle of that series. But like, I think that huge leap is because of Gears of War and everything that Gearbox did for that.
Yeah.
Nice. I have no objections. I have fond memories of playing both, like when they released. I think Call of Duty, like, it gets a little knock on like the story category because, I mean, World War II, I mean, it was great. I love that era, especially in FPS games, but like Gears of War introduces like an entirely new and unique kind of story. And again, so not only like the cover shooting, but was Gears the first game to introduce like the horde mode stuff?
I think that was in Gears 2, but it might have been the first. Oh, was it Gears 3?
No, it was Gears.
Was it
It was
2?
Gears 2.
Was-
It was 2.
2 had
It was
horde
2.
mode.
I knew it was
And-
2. Yeah.
And then even Halo copied that with Firefight later on in ODST. But I think also Gears had the first active reload system too that I remember using.
Oh.
Yeah,
you hit
Gears
RB,
1 had
reload, and
the active reload, man,
Mhm.
because that's how I got to beat RAM because of active reload.
yeah, no, like you had
It's
to be
crucial.
really good with
Yeah.
that sniper reloading that real quick. So
Yeah,
I think everything about Gears 1 wins. And also for the commenters who are like, oh, he's young, he didn't even play Call of Duty 2. This was against Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I'm still picking Gears of War 1. Like Modern Warfare 2, COD 4, any of the COD titles, Gears of War beats them out. Like,
Yeah.
Interesting. But you can still leave those comments. I would appreciate it. It really helps us out.
yeah,
in the
out of the
algorithm.
gate,
So
absolutely.
please tell us
comments,
all of the
subscribe.
hate. Send us all the
Send us
Fun UCSS fact real quick.
yeah.
We have an email that people can email to us, and I'm not encouraging it, but I do have a hate mail folder saved of the funny ones that I get, so I can go back and laugh at them when I need a chuckle. So
Nice.
I'm all for any kind of comment. It's whatever.
Hey, maybe a new segment on the show. Just like if you guys get bored, in the off season, just be like, hey, here's the funniest hate mail we've gotten.
I don't know, man. You guys are kind of ruthless. I don't think we need to encourage it, but it is there. Like that's a me thing, though. That's not a show thing. Keeps me balanced on like, oh man, people have like perceive me as a human being, so it's helped me out.
Well, hopefully it's not too bad for you. Man, I'm looking. So we're down to we have 3 matchups left until we can finally determine the Xbox representative in the final 4. But I'm looking at the matchups now. So we have Halo Combat Evolved against Ori and the Blind Forest. And then Elder Scrolls Oblivion versus Gears of War 1. Like, one of these does not look like the others. And I feel bad for Ori because it's gonna get even on the like absolute random, like Anthony just had an aneurysm and picks Ori and the Blind Forest over Halo. How does it get through Elder Scrolls or Gears of War 1? There, Ori stands no chance. So I guess you can give your spiel for Halo versus Ori, but I think maybe it might be better suited to just like give Ori the proper send off and eulogy that it deserves.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys kind of say your spiel about Ori. It's a fun game. I should go back and replay it more. I want to play Will of the Wisps too. I know that it's not quite on the level story-wise of Ori 1, but it's still a staple of the Xbox One generation too. So I really want to go back and experience that more. I'm going to save most of my talking points for Halo for when I really need them. But Ori, fantastic. I love the characters. Like, I love the story. The art design's great. Just unfortunate that you came up against what I think is some of the best gaming ever created on anything. So
good run.
Round of applause for you. If I wanted to play a Metroidvania game, you'd be in my top 3 at least. So,
and hey, you made it to round 3. That's pretty good for this game, considering the competition. Man, Ori, I still like. Will of the Wisps was not on the thing, but I just want to say, like, it's hard to follow up the story of Ori 1. Like, it was very emotional, and I'm just not. Ori 2 does not have that, and I'm just going to call it Ori 2 because saying the plural of wisp is like not fun to do, and I refuse to say it anymore. But yeah, Kumino, do you have like a send off you want to do to Ori here, or are we just silently pouring one out and moving on?
All right, I'll say it like this because in the beginning on the big gigantic Xbox, I remember playing Halo and Halo 2. So I have fond memories of them. I did not even know Combat Evolved was a thing with Halo, so I have no feeling for it. So Ori, just understand that I am completely on your side, and I will walk off this cliff with you.
Kumino's about to Bonnie and Clyde. Like, that's funny.
To add on to that, I'd rather walk off a cliff with Ori than take a chainsaw gun to the head.
Yeah, that's definitely the preferable death. Yeah.
So yeah.
But
Halo,
that would be pretty brutal. Halo, of course. Moving on. So we got that matchup set here, and now this one gets interesting. I'm excited to hear Anthony's deliberation between Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Gears of War 1.
Man, so
that was a very deep breath. So we know it's about to get a little crazy.
So as I said, like Gears sets the bar, for third-person shooters the same way I think Halo sets it for first-person shooters. I mean, it's crazy. You've got the cover system, the active reloading, everything felt great in that game. And for a 360 game, it ran great. I mean, like I very rarely remember having problems with it. And I had a refurbished Xbox that survived the Red Ring of Death when I first got a 360. And it still ran Gears fine. Oblivion, it's Bethesda. They do the same thing every single time. And it's fine. It works, I mean, I think it worked really well up until probably Starfield at this point. But that's like gameplay mechanics wise, I think Gears has the edge here. Nothing really stands out from Oblivion compared to the other Elder Scrolls games, other than just improving upon the mechanics and adding to them, which is innovation in itself, yes, but Bethesda hasn't really done anything since. And I mean, Oblivion came out in 2006 and we're in 2024. And we're, if you look at Starfield, it's the same thing. So Gears takes the edge there. Story and narrative wise, I actually, and this goes for Skyrim and this goes for at least Fallout 4, but I think that the main storyline of Bethesda games usually tends to be the worst part. Starfield changed that for me. I actually really enjoyed it. Fallout 3 was really enjoyable, but Oblivion, it's all about the world around it and not so much the story. And the stories all start in the same spot where you're a prisoner and you get out and you make your character. It's what it's been since Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim, whereas Gears of War introduced a whole nother level of hell when it came to a war story. I mean, you're living on this planet where these things could come out from anywhere. And I don't know about you guys, because I was probably like 11 or 12 when I first played Gears of War, well before I should have played it. Yeah. The Locust terrified me. I mean, the Locust gave me nightmares. They were a horrifying enemy. They were fun to fight. And everything about the story, especially with the general killing your leader outside. He was outside of the one temple area right after you fight the Berserker. And the Berserker might be one of the scariest enemies ever in a video game, period. I mean, the entrance cutscene alone to that, I can still recite word for word almost. So when it comes to memorability and story narrative, Gears of War also takes the edge there for me. And I think as you guys see, like Gears is taking over Oblivion.
Yeah.
And I'm just like the aesthetic was perfect too for its setting. Where Oblivion, it's a fantasy RPG. It nailed it. Kudos to you. You know how to make things look like Lord of the Rings. Good job, Bethesda. Still love you guys, but Gears just sets this whole new tone to gritty, gory sci-fi that I absolutely ate up. I mean, the chainsaw gun is the coolest thing in the world. You can't, as much as I love Halo and every weapon in Halo, you can't top the chainsaw gun. When it comes to just unique weapons. So I'm gonna have to go with Gears on this one.
Okay. And just to continue the trend of talking about Gears tactics, the chainsaw gun use in Gears Tactics is cool. Equally as satisfying.
I will say Gears 3, the bayonet run, arguably more fun because you had to aim it, but that was it was less satisfying but more fun to use.
Yeah. Also, I think if we were to do the my dad could beat up your dad thing, the characters from Gears could definitely beat up every character in Oblivion. I mean, they're just hulking meathead, beefcakes. Oh, yeah. I mean, how do people even get that size? That's unreal.
I don't. Maybe you guys know more about the outside lore of it. I just know the games. I never got into the books of Gears of War. I don't know why they're that size. I don't even think they're on Earth, but I don't really care. I just love it.
No, they're not on Earth. They're on a planet called Sera 1.
Okay. The only knock that Gears of War will ever get from me is it felt a little out of context, but most games back then I felt like they just let you kind of play with your imagination in it. And we'll get more into that talking point later, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't have an objection to any of you guys.
Gears all the way.
Man, I'm really
You know
selling
what?
this to you guys.
You know what? As he was going through it, honestly, I can't say anything against it. Yeah, Oblivion. Without Oblivion, we wouldn't have Skyrim. But I mean, Gears, in terms of what it did for the community and the story, the mechanics, just everything just blows Oblivion out of the water in terms of the genre itself. So, yeah, I agree.
Nice. Well,
Now for the pain.
we're on the last matchup, guys.
Oh man, that was
And
so fast.
wouldn't
A part of
wouldn't
me
you
wanted
know?
to try and sell you guys on Oblivion just so I could blow Oblivion out of the water and not go to bed feeling bad about myself. But when we made this list, I looked at it and I was like, well, if it comes down to anything but Gears versus Halo, I'm going to be shocked.
Mhm.
And I didn't quite get the structure of where I was selling this to you guys. I thought it was going to be a whole debate. So even then I was like, I think we're all probably going to be on the same page here.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm picking Halo. And I'm picking Halo for the sole fact that I think it is still the better franchise as a whole. And this Halo CE is a better first game than Gears of War was for its series. I think Gears only got better as the series went on, whereas Halo 2 was its pinnacle, yes. 3 and Reach were great, but it really kind of teeters off. And I just realized I'm saying my point backwards here. The original 4, I should say, like they just continued to build on the good formula. I'm gonna cut it off at Reach because if I bring 4 and 5 into this, Halo loses everything. So we're not gonna talk about that. But the Bungie Halo games, Halo CE, going by gameplay and mechanics, I mean, the single player was one of the most memorable single players I can remember from really any game. And I think the reason it's so memorable is it's great in its episodic formula, even though it's not an episodic game. You wake up, once again, out of context, for just like Gears of War, which is why it's a knock on their stories, both of them, I think. You don't really know who Master Chief is when you wake up, and you don't really know who Marcus Phoenix is when they get him out of prison.
Mhm.
And I think you learn a little bit more about Marcus, but being the chief just felt powerful, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's the first person to third person thing where you're watching Marcus tear through the locusts, but you are Master Chief going through this. So gameplay wise, like the single player, it has some of the most memorable levels of the library and the end with the maw, and the fact that I think it's one of the first games that had multiple endings depending on what difficulty you played on, some of which that they had to retcon because they killed off one of their best characters. RIP Sergeant Johnson if you play the Legendary Edition. But Gears' story, not as memorable to me. I felt like I was just kind of wandering around as Marcus fighting these things. And for a while, you don't really understand it. And I know you build on that mystery. I just think Halo was paced better. And Halo kept me more engaged when I was younger, when I was older. Throughout every time I replay either of them, Halo just felt better paced. Even just that multiplayer wise, I think they're actually dead even. I think the multiplayer in Gears of War is great because it really encapsulates what made esports fantastic. And I know people like Nick Merckx got their start, I think, in Gears of War competitive. Only problem is they each have one gun that's just really overpowered. And that is the shotgun in Gears of War, and that is the Magnum in Combat Evolved. So like they each have their knock there on balancing, but both of their multiplayers were fantastic. And I mean, they hit at the perfect time where Xbox Live was usable. Because if they came out before Xbox Live, I don't think either of these would have taken off the way they did because of their multiplayer. Aesthetics. I think Gears of War doesn't hold up great graphically. I think their remaster of it was actually better. I know it came out later than Anniversary, but the way they completely re-encapsulated the cutscenes, it made it more modern. I haven't played the remaster fully. I've watched a lot of the cutscenes back to back, though, to try and see the differences. And I liked all the changes that they actually made to give things a little bit more context, make them feel a little bit more heavy. Some of the death scenes are a little bit more intense. Halo's holds up better if we're just comparing the original games. And I actually think the Anniversary Edition takes away a little bit from CE looking back on it. As excited as I was for it, the sound mixing drops off like a cliff if you play the remaster. Everything just gets turned up. And I don't know if 343 thinks louder is better, but that's a whole nother issue. So I think the
Christopher
aesthetics
Nolan
of the
must have done their sound design.
Oh man, like I'm playing through all the Halos again with my buddy, and when we were on Halo 1, I would hit it the switcher to switch the graphics, and my eardrums would just explode. So I think the aesthetics of the original game, Halo CE takes the cake. Like, I think it holds up better. I think it's a more immersive setting, and to take it to space and give the Covenant the ships that they did, we didn't get to really see a lot of where the Locust came from in Gears 1, if I remember correctly. That wasn't until Gears 2 where you went in to map the Locust underworld, whereas Halo, you got to see the inside of these ships. You fought through them. So they really made two full factions in the first one, aesthetically pleasing. And all the weapons were iconic. You had the chainsaw gun and the sniper from Gears. You've got the needler, you've got the plasma pistol, you've got the assault rifle, the Magnum, even the double barrel rocket launcher that people still love. And they still used the designs to this day in Halo Infinite. They've barely changed anything because they're such iconic looks. Innovation wise, Gears, like I said, gave us the third person genre, and CE gives us the first. Gears gave us the third person genre, and CE gave us the first person. It's a wash. Putting their innovations up against each other, it's not even fair. They're dead on the same. So this is where the fun factor takes for me. I love them both dearly. I genuinely do. Halo is the most fun shooter I've ever played. Like, I have a blast playing it. I didn't even know what I was doing when I first played Halo. I was just bouncing around. I was like, oh, mouse and keyboard, what is this? And then 360 controller. The arcade style first person shooter like Quake and that, it is still to this day my jam, which is why I've kind of fallen out of love with Call of Duty as they've expanded from the arcade. But Halo still, even in Infinite, grasped that multiplayer and has yet to miss on it. Halo 4 takes a dip. Halo 5 story was crap, but multiplayer was fantastic. So that Halo formula is just so perfect, and I love that they stuck with it. Gears, fun story. I do not like third-person multiplayer shooters. I didn't like Spec Ops: The Line multiplayer. I didn't like Gears of War multiplayer as much as I liked Halo. I feel like the shoulder peak stuff is just kind of it's not my jam. I did like the fact that the active reload was still in multiplayer, and so that was the skill gap. But I had more fun playing CE. Like, single player and multiplayer was the complete package for me. Whereas Gears of War, I really loved the single player. I was pretty lukewarm on the multiplayer. Like, I was never great at it. It never really grabbed me. And the third person feels to me more of like a story mechanic to use rather than a multiplayer mechanic. And that's why, like, some of my favorite games are Mass Effect, and all the single player games I love are third person because I like watching people go through the story. But I don't like being in multiplayer and being just the third person, and everybody can see over their cover and I can see over mine. And I just think it's weird. I like first person multiplayer better there.
I will say, man, this is a completely different region, but I totally agree on the whole multiplayer thing. With the exception of The Last of Us had the most amazing multiplayer ever. Like, and I could go on and on and on about The Last of Us multiplayer. And to this day, I get sad thinking about it because they were just like a little bit too early, like just before esports really blew up. If they were out like a handful of years later, The Last of Us could have been one of the best esports third-person shooter games. I feel like just the way that game worked and the mechanics of the multiplayer is just. I totally derailed everything that's going on, but I had to say it because The Last of Us multiplayer was like perfect third-person multiplayer.
I never played Last of Us until the show came out. So I missed the multiplayer craze, but I did have a friend who streamed the multiplayer all the time,
Oh,
and it
so
did. It looked fantastic. But that's where my fun factor lands. So once again, CE takes the cake on it, and the post-launch support. Both the communities are still alive and thriving. They're still making Gears content. People love Gears, obviously. Like we put it in our we put it in our second place here in this finals. Like I'm putting it in second place. Halo's I'm putting it in first place. The Halo community at the moment is struggling, and that's a whole another bag of worms. But when it came to CE, the fact that like I picked the game up probably 4 or 5 years after it came out, right before Halo 2 dropped, and the server browser was still completely full and packed with people, and I could always find a game on computer, and then even playing on like old school Xbox Live, you could find a game and stuff. Like everybody wanted to have LAN parties as kids playing Halo and Halo 2 and Halo 3.
Yeah.
Like it was not just a community thing, it was like a phenomenon when I was growing up. Like what Halo and Halo 2 and Halo 3 did, not only in my life, but like just like the world around me. Like I wish I would have gone. I wish I was old enough to have gone to like a Halo 3 launch party, like back in the day, man. I feel like I really missed the ball on that one. So I got to pick Halo CE. That is my argument for it based on our criteria. I love both games. It hurts me to even say that Gears isn't going to win this because I knew it was going to come down to these two. And I do have a Halo bias. I'm not gonna lie to anybody watching, clearly. But like, I think mechanically and everything, Halo CE is the perfect package of a video game. Gears of War, fantastic single player, lukewarm multiplayer. So I'm gonna give it to CE based on that alone too.
Good points. Good points. Kumino, do you have anything to say on the matter?
Man, I appreciate everything that you said about CE and Gears. You're right, because now realizing that CE is Halo 1, I'm going back to 2001 and remembering having order pizza. Me, all of my friends sitting in the living room. We all got our TVs around because we brought our TVs from our houses and playing. And Halo it was so good back then. Like without it, we would not have Call of Duty, PUBG, and all the rest of the games that everybody loves to enjoy now in the competitive scene. But Gears came along and just, I feel, wiped the floor with everything that first person was trying to do. Because I'm third person. That's what I like that. I want to be able to see my guy. You know, like we got these skins. I want to see the skin. I don't want my friend to see it. I want to see it. You know,
that's a good point. That's a good argument.
Yeah.
And then now you're right. They did not show us where the locust came from. But it was the simple fact that we knew that the locust felt like this planet was theirs. And being that they just randomly showed up, well, at that point in time in the story, we didn't know that they was already there. But from the story that they was telling us, they just showed up one day trying to take over the planet. Nah, this planet was theirs. We're the invaders, but we're fighting to have a home just like they're fighting to have a home. And that story was showcased to us through that. And the combat mechanics that in the end game, you have to beat this gigantic monster of a general, and he's covered in these bat-like creatures while you're trying to survive everything he's giving you, everything the bat's giving you. It was fantastic. Like
I remember the train fondly.
yes, the train was awesome because here's the kicker. When this game came out, my best friend and my cousin, they were like the dynamic duo. All games they played together. I was by myself. I was the solo gamer because I love story. That's how Gears of War sucked me in, because it had a great story. So I'm playing this on hardcore by myself while they're playing it together. So then when we finally did get to multiplayer, they'd be like, how are you even this good? Because I got to play by myself. Y'all had each other to back yourselves up. I ain't have none of that. And like I said, the wall mountain and just the maps in multiplayer. Oh my God, the maps was so immersive and so beautiful. Like, yeah, they had their glitches and stuff of that nature where people would glitch out of the map and, you know, cheat to win. But when you had two squads that wanted to play the game for what it was truly anybody's ball game. And I absolutely loved multiplayer then. Since then, I haven't been back to multiplayer because multiplayer sucks. Everybody just, you know, they're so competitive. Back then, it was competition, but it was friendly competition. I haven't seen friendly competition since Gears of War, and I probably won't ever get back into shooter competition multiplayer games until Gears of War fix it. Now, like you said, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole because Gears of War 2 and 3, you know that drawing of the horse that they do online with the storytelling?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like 1, oh, okay, that's nice. 2, okay, I see you. 3, oh, you cooking. 4,
Fire main, yeah.
What the fuck is that? 5, hold on now, this just ain't right. So so they followed the same trend as Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they are tit for tat, but I have to side with Gears of War because, again, being a third person, yeah, it sold me and it brought me in because of the story. Yeah, Halo had a great story, but I feel like Gears' story was way better, as well as they finished their story better.
That's fair. And I think actually too, I'll give you the story beat there because Halo CE works better if you still think Master Chief is the only Spartan left. With everything that they've done
so
since,
we got to establish something right now,
Mhm.
which wasn't a problem last year because we were judging a show in its like entirety, its lifespan.
Yeah,
we can't get sucked in with including an entire game series. Because like this is just CE versus Gears 1. We can draw some comparisons and talk about like the other games in the series, but this is strictly CE versus Gears 1. So just wanted to get that out.
Okay, well then I would say Gears had a better cliffhanger.
Ooh, I don't know. You blow up the entire
fight.
At the end of Halo, you blow up the entire you blow up the entire Halo and you are floating by yourself in space. You don't know what's going to happen next. The fact that he even makes it back to Earth in 2 was mind-boggling at the time.
Well, I mean, at the time, we thought that was it. There was going to be no more Halo.
That's true too. That's a good point.
With Gears, we knew another Gears was coming.
Yeah.
So that's why I said they had a better cliffhanger.
Better cliffhanger to bring people back to Gears 2. Better multiplayer to keep people playing CE into the next game.
Oh, that's a great point. Dad, do you have anything to add to this very spicy conversation?
I have very fond memories of both games. Many hours of Halo at band practice. We'd practice for like an hour or less and then spend the rest of the night playing Halo. Similar situation. Friend would bring their box over. We'd link up and play a lot of shouting. Super fun. I love Gears also because I also love third person. Love the story. I think Halo is more multiplayer for me because that's just what we were doing then. Gears is definitely for me more of the story. Man, this is tough. Because they're both great in their own places.
Yeah. While you're searching for the words, I'll add a little 2 cents. I think what puts Halo above Gears is some of the like extracurricular stuff. Again, it's hard to use this as an argument because like how much of this involves like the entire franchise as a whole versus like this specific game. But like, you know, you had the red versus blue like YouTube series or whatever.
Yeah,
You have all the
Very
cool like,
embarrassed to say I
live
won.
action, you know, stuff attached to Halo, which we haven't really gotten for Gears. So that, but one thing that does apply directly to CE is probably are arguably the greatest video game song like ever written in the history of video game music. Like name a song in gaming that is more iconic than the Halo like main screen or whatever.
The only other one, it's not even on the list, and that's Skyrim.
They might even have two if you look at Halo 2's with Breaking Benjamin's Blow Me Away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're not counting that, obviously, but if you're talking
Yeah.
iconic songs, like Halo series might own two of the top three.
And I don't know. I just find that this, so again, like our job as the judges panel is to like be swayed by the arguments you make, not sway you by the arguments we make. But I will say like, a couple cool things. Like I think it's interesting that we ended this matchup with the number 1 versus the number 2 seed. Like I think we gave the entire bracket like it's fair, you know, run through each matchup. So I think that's cool. But with that said, like Halo scored 5 points higher than Gears 1 on our rating system. Came in with a 95 and Gears 1 at a 90. It's like it's a pretty decent gap. And I want to say, not that it really matters in the grand scheme of this particular region of the bracket, but that's the largest gap between a 1 and 2 seed in the entire tournament. Like every other region's gap is at most 2 points. So this more than doubles the gap between the 1 and 2 seed. So I think that's kind of a strong point to look at. And then just again, like this matchup is literally splitting hairs because these are both like iconic Xbox properties, but poll, 100 people on the streets, like name the first game that comes to mind when you hear Xbox.
Halo.
It has to be Halo at an overwhelming margin. So like my thought, I would probably put CE above Gears, but again, it's not my call. We're here to just approve or side with Anthony or dispute his claim, I guess. But I would have to agree with his reasoning for Halo, and then like throw my little 2 cents in there too. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it is splitting hairs. Like I said, I think my final point of Halo is a bit more of a complete package with its story and multiplayer. The story definitely gets better as it goes on and then takes a dip. But, if we're just looking at these two number ones, Gears of War, I don't know how many people grew up playing Gears of War multiplayer the way they grew up playing Halo multiplayer. And I don't know how many people remember the Halo single player the first time around until Halo 2 as much as they remember Gears story starting it off. So when you're looking at it, I mean, but in totality, I do think CE is the more complete package. It had a way longer longevity between, because I think Halo 1 was
2001.
2001, and then Halo
Yeah.
2 came out in 2007, and it still
Oh.
stormed everything. I don't know. I think it was 3 years or 4 years between Gears 1 and Gears 2. I didn't look up
Yeah.
the Gears release dates before this. I should have. So the longevity of Halo CE, to also get its collection and put in the Master Chief collection and that whole entire story encapsulated, like it's just the complete package when it comes to the Xbox genre of games.
Mhm. And ultimately, no pun intended, we have to, Anthony, I mean, I think he could argue fairly for both of these, obviously, because he's a huge fan of both games. But along with determining the best game in the matchup, Anthony also has to argue for this against his opponent. So I don't know. With that in mind, I mean, I think we all agree. Maybe Kumino he's like clenching his fists off screen, and he's like, "I cannot wait
Yes.
until the next Pokeboys episode, Pokeboys season, where I can just run you into the ground, Mike." But yeah, I think it has to be Combat Evolved. Anthony, you just made a great case for Halo
You did.
versus.
You really
Yeah,
did.
he really did.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we got your game.
Well, I'll argue Halo over with anybody at this. Like, I could have done a full 2 hours just on which Halo game I like the most. Like,
I swear to God, in all
that's
honesty,
my stuff.
we could have switched roles. I swear to God, we could.
Oh
because,
yeah,
like,
no. I
feel
mean,
the
if you were
exact
down
same
here
way.
and you picked Gears, I gotta respect it. I mean, like,
No.
pick
I
Halo.
mean, you could have argued Gears and I could have argued Halo because both of them are so damn good.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, this literally, you could toss a coin and you wouldn't have been wrong either way.
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah, I'll argue Halo against anything on any other console.
Well, that's great because that's exactly what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Bring it
The
on.
next time you are on
Ocarina of Time, try me.
Well, so
I don't know. That moon might take you
It's
down.
it's not that one.
Oh, I was gonna say, I haven't seen the other lists yet. I didn't look.
Yeah, so you are on the same side of the bracket as Nintendo, so you will be squaring off
Ooh.
against Jared. His bracket has not been decided yet. Actually, you are the first episode here in the schedule, and also the first episode that we've recorded. So, yeah,
Nice.
your opponent is unknown, and I think to be fair, I guess not that it matters because we're a little behind the scenes things. We're recording all of these episodes within like a week and a half of each other, so it's not like anyone knowing their opponent's really going to be much of an advantage because we're not recording the championship one till towards the end of the month. Anyways, that was super random, but I can't wait to see what you bring out against your opponent because you did lay out a lot of really great points, but you definitely have to argue for Halo at least one more time, but potentially 2 more times. So I hope you saved a little bit of that ammunition in the barrel for at least the Final Four debate.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it's going to be tough going up against Nintendo. I was kind of hoping I was going to roll either PC or PlayStation for first round. Nintendo's tough because Nintendo has a lot. I don't want to say fanboys because that's kind of a mean, but like Nintendo is very near and dear to a lot of people, and I get it. Like I love Nintendo too. I'm a Pokemon. I played all of them with the new ones, so I understand. But it's gonna be interesting. I'm curious to see who I'm gonna go up against. Fun fact about me. I'm not really an on-air personality, so being in a genuine debate's going to be fun. Like this was telling you guys on this was fun and good practice. The next episode is really going to put me through the ringer.
Yes.
I'm excited. I think Jared and I just followed each other on Twitter the other day, so
nice.
I'm going to have to keep an eye out on him and see what he's cooking up. So I can prepare.
He's pretty good. He can be pretty convincing. No, this is actually so another little behind the scenes tidbit. I'm just basically ruining the point of the making of March Madness being on Patreon. But the way we determined the sides of the brackets, we just did like a random number generator to pick who's on what side of the bracket. So it just so happened out like our two guests that are not hosts of Showboys are on one side, and the two Showboys hosts are on one side. So we don't have a like, Showboys championship. We can't be like accused of rigging anything. But also Xbox is on one side and Sony's on one side. So maybe there's a chance of the ultimate like battle of fanboys and console war, like Xbox versus Sony in the championship. That would be nuts.
That's not gonna
but yeah,
happen.
I don't know. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. I would say just personally, out of the regions, Xbox for me is like the weakest. But
by far,
Anthony,
dude, you sold it, man.
I'll argue.
Halo and Anthony, I feel like that's a very dangerous combo. So
Yeah,
we'll have to see what happens in the Final Four against Nintendo. But yeah, thanks so much, dude, for coming on. It was a blast.
Yes, thank you.
You did amazing, and I cannot wait to go through the 3 other episodes and going through the 3 other regions and figuring out who Anthony's competition will be, and then what the other side of the bracket is going to hold, because it's going to be, I feel like this is going to be a wild ride, guys. I really
It's going to be really wild.
Yeah,
and I am exactly what I was going to say. I'm so glad I'm up here and not down there, because we have the easy job, guys. We just got to pick. Like, they have to prove their case. So yeah, with that being said, I have because Anthony is impossible to find like on Twitter itself unless you see him like react to a post or something. I included a link to his Twitter page in the episode description. Also UCSS's Twitter as well. So go give them a follow, guys, especially if you're big sports fans in the Northeast Ohio region. Otherwise, you might, wonder why I'm telling you to go follow a Cleveland sports show. But
we do some national topics here and there. But also, thank you guys so much for letting me be on this. This was such a breath of fresh air, and just like getting to go talk about stuff I love.
yes.
I just want to remind everybody, this is a fun way to debate stuff. Video games are fun, man. Go play every video game you can.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Don't let the console wars like deter you from going and picking something up if you can.
Right. We're all winners here.
Yeah, for real. Like the games are fun. We have fun.
Yeah. But to end on a not fun note, you must say which mic is the best mic to do a podcast with, me or McNuggets, and it better be me.
Actually, I am going to pick you.
I'm just kidding.
Mike, no. So McNuggets, if you're watching till this point, because I know you have no idea what any of this is and what we're talking about, and you're going to be so long. I got to talk more on this than behind the glass, which is fair because I don't know what I'm talking about on sports. So this is the more fun podcast to do.
Yeah,
I know what I'm talking about, so this is the more fun one.
You heard it here first. That's going to be the only short clip generated from this episode.
That's right.
Is Anthony dunking on his boss.
That's fine.
Works
He's
for me.
tried to fire me 3 times. He doesn't know how to use Photoshop. It's fine.
That's great.
He's got to keep me on retainer.
That's right. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe and go follow UCSS and Anthony. See you next week.
I didn't want to seem like too much of a fanboy, but like, I mean, like Halo is my thing. Like I've got all the Blu-rays.
Fanboyness was screaming. I was like, oh my God, like I feel the same way. Like,
What he's not telling us is he has a full like chest and back tattoo of Master Chief's front and back profiles. What's your Pokemon tattoo? I have to see it.
Here, these sleeves don't pull up very well, but I have Espeon and Haunter on the inside.
Oh, nice.
And then I have Raichu on the outside. And I'm still trying to figure out who I'm going to fill it in with. Because I love all of them. It's hard to pick a favorite.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
I'm weird. Zigzagoon's like my all-time favorite. Like he's my random Gen 3 that I just absolutely love. Like Generation 3 was my first. So
like, what is going on?
As a kid, yeah, I got like a little figure. My
That's
parents found it for me at
nice.
like a garage sale. It's missing an ear because I took it to school all the time. Yeah, no, I was that kid for
That's
sure.
awesome.
But
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
it's funny too because my girlfriend, she didn't play Pokemon much, but she played Generation 4,
Mhm.
and she just is obsessed with Bidoof. So it's like the
Nice.
same
Bidoof.
Pokemon in two
I
different
mean,
generations.
that is the
Like,
almighty God.
yeah, it's
Bidoof.
like I've got Zigzagoon in Generation 3, and she's got Bidoof. Like,
You guys are literally a match made in heaven for each
it's
other.
kind of weird, honestly, like how much of that has like synced up. The biggest thing and the biggest detriment to our relationship is I introduced her to Baldur's Gate 3. So when she started, when any time she's on it, I just don't hear from her. Like I'm single for like 4 hours basically.